there, I'm Stephanie Eckhart. I'm here with Homesale Realty in Career Development. And today we did a session going over the home sale specific forms that you might need when you're working with a seller or a buyer. So for those who were not able to make it, I'm also going to do the recording, and you have a folder in your mailboxes that include all of the hard copies of these documents for your review afterwards. And then you can always come back and rewatch the video at that time if you want to match them up and take notes. So I'm going to begin actually with the buyer side documents. And the very first thing that you're going to find in the buyer section of that pamphlet is a required sales form checklist. This is actually a piece that I took out of our Accelerate New to Business training program because I thought that might be helpful for you guys in the future if you're having trouble remembering these additional documents that would need to be included at various times of the transaction. So I did include that there for you, and you can see that there's some things that are always required or potentially situational depending on what the transaction is like. After that, you will see that there is a disclosure regarding home service contract. And it basically means this is a home warranty disclosure. We would want to include the home warranty disclosure on every offer that we write because it just depends house per house, whether or not there's interest there in getting a home warranty contract with it. So this top section just explains what a home warranty is and why it might be important to have that. And then there are 4 different areas here that a person could initial. So the first one being that they're completely declining the opportunity to purchase a home warranty, or as part of the offer, the seller is actually offering and including it with the listing, and they're just going to acknowledge that and accept it. The third option is that as part of the offer, they're asking the seller to provide a home warranty, which there has been a market for that, maybe not today's market, but when that's in vogue again, that's an option. And then the last one is that as part of their offer, they themselves will purchase a home warranty. And if there's interest there in that, you can put in which home warranty company they are using and what that coverage might cost them and get the signature. Just keeping in mind that with this warranty disclosure, this is at the time of the offer. But as we know, a client or a customer can choose to purchase a home warranty at any point throughout the transaction, but we're just kind of making sure that that disclosure is made right from the start when they're making the offer and what that intention is at that moment. And then if they decide later on that they do want to purchase a warranty, they can certainly do so. Following that, there is another internal form that we use. Very rarely, it's not often that a situation like this would occur, but this would be our owner's title policy waiver form. And this would be in the off chance that you have maybe a cash investor client or something like that who expressly says that they do not want the owner's coverage for title insurance. And we really want to make sure that we're covering ourselves in those instances. So this waiver was designed to make sure that they understand how important title insurance coverage is and that they are in fact choosing to waive it in no uncertain terms. So again, like I said, not something that would be often used, but if you do find yourself in that situation, it does exist, and we would ask that you have that completed. After that, you will see that there is an affiliated business disclosure. This is a form that would need to be completed with every offer, and that is just we are required to disclose when we have affiliations with different types of businesses. And so we're disclosing our relationship with Home Sale Settlement Services, our title insurance company, also our affiliation with Home Sale Mortgage, Home Sale Insurance, and then the Home Warranty Partnership as well. So it would just be an acknowledgement that we have these other services, and the buyers would sign. After that, there is a home inspection advisement. Now, of course, we know that in the agreement of sale, they can elect or waive inspections. FHA requires the For Your Protection Get a Home Inspection form be completed. But we also ask that with every offer, this home inspection advisement is also separately signed, because we really, again, want to make sure that you're covering yourself against any potential in the future where the consumer might come back and say that they didn't read the agreement of sale, or they didn't understand the importance of it, or that they were advised against it in some way. So this top section just explains what a home inspection is and what it may be looking at. And then there's an initial box here that they have been advised to always get a home inspection or any other specialized inspections based on the house. And then down here in this bottom section, this is where we're going to pre-select for them, for their signatures, what the intention is. The first box says that they will order their own home inspections, which we really don't advise that that's ever the case because of the timelines in the agreement of sale. And we really want to make sure that those timelines are staying in play. So we really would rather not. The best solution would be to choose this second box that says that we're authorizing Homesale Realty, basically you as their agent, to order the following inspections, and then you're going to mark off whichever ones their intentions are to be in the agreement of sale. There's also a place down here where you could make some suggestions about which home inspection companies are the ones you recommend. And the last box down at the bottom would be in the event that the person chooses to waive their inspections completely. And so we really want to make sure in those cases that this home inspection advisement has been signed so that it just kind of further says, we've explained multiple times the need for a home inspection and you have chosen to waive it. Okay, so then the buyer would sign that. And as I said, this one would be for each offer because again, house to house, their feelings about the home inspection may be different. Okay. After that, we have our in-house buyer services guarantee. And this can be really helpful. This one is an optional form. You don't have to have it signed, but we do find that it can sometimes be a way to help you sell the buyer agency discussion and to really break it down into a layperson terms, what type of service they should be expecting from their relationship with you. So it really breaks it down. But the thing that's really helpful, especially in that buyer agency discussion, is at the bottom, there's a small paragraph here, basically allowing them to terminate the representation agreement if you are not providing the services the way that they were hoping or as you outlined. But it also allows you yourself to make it clear that you can also terminate the representation agreement if there was ever a need for you to do that. Now, there is, of course, a stipulation in there that it does need to be in writing. The reason that they would like to terminate, it needs to be presented to the office leader, and that there needs to be a 24-hour period where potentially there might be some way to rectify the situation. Okay, so sometimes that can be a helpful addition to the buyer agency contract, but not a replacement. And then following that, we have our information sharing authorization form. Again, this is going to be on every single offer that gets written up. You want to make sure you've included the seller's information and their agent name, the buyer's names, and then you're going to put in who the lender is, who's doing the title insurance, and who the agent is, which would presumably be you. And allowing all of the parties then to speak freely with each other about loan estimates and closing disclosures and those kinds of financial things for the client. Now, we can't always attest to the fact that like maybe outside lenders or outside title people would use this as an official information consent form, but we just get in the habit of doing it for each offer anyway. Okay. Moving on to the listing side, there are some additional listing forms you would need to have when you're taking on a new listing. And so I've also included a required listing form checklist here to remind you what those are, as well as the standard PAR things. Okay. The very first thing that you will see is our minimum commissions and broker fees sheet. Because our footprint covers a lot of different areas, different markets, different states, 2 different states, we want to make sure that if we're playing in those sandboxes that we're all playing by the same rules and making sure that we're not hurting our home sale peers in those areas. So we want to make sure that you have all of the information you need should you ever be listing or selling in those areas. The flat broker fees for the listing side and the buyer side in those different areas, as well as what commission we charge, depending on potentially what county or what state you happen to be in. For the most part, this is a 6% commission or more, if you like, company. So the standard is going to be 6. However, there are occasions where we would maybe hit a minimum dollar value, occasions where that commission may look a little different. and maybe be a little less. So you can take a look at those. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to either Jim or Melissa to further explain. In one of the other sessions, it was made known about the premier listing package that happens when you take on a listing. Agent Services will do a lot of things for you automatically. In the event that you would ever need to make an adjustment to that or override something, that's what this form is in your loop to do. It's the marketing selections for listing packages. If you do nothing, then all of those great things that Agent Services does for you will happen automatically. No hiccup. But if you need to make an override, that's what this page is in there for. So for the weekly seller report, for example, if you needed to only send it to yourself and not to the seller, or maybe you just don't want one at all, then you could choose that box and that will alert Agent Services to not set that up on your behalf. Okay, so most of the time, this is not going to be necessary, but if you need to make certain adjustments, you can use it. Next up is another affiliated business disclosure, this time on the listing side. Again, we need to just make sure that all of the consumers are aware of the fact that we provide these different services, especially if you come into a dual agency situation. You want to make sure both sides are aware. And because as a full service brokerage, we do offer these services to buyers very frequently. So you would want to make sure your sellers knew that. So same thing, except this time the seller is signing. There's another home warranty disclosure on the listing side as well. A little bit different in terms of the choices because from the seller perspective, they're either going to be offering it with the listing or they're not. So again, this is not an end-all be-all discussion. It's at the time of the listing. This is how I feel about the warranty. And at any point up until settlement, the seller can change their mind and decide to tack one on if they wanted to. But we do need to make sure that with every listing, we have offered the warranty as an option. Okay. In an earlier session, Quick Buy, which is our instant cash offer program, was introduced and discussed and needs to also be brought up as an option for each qualifiable seller that might be interested. So we want to make sure that as real estate agents, we're offering all types of services and that you are the source of information on all of these different options for them. And so there is a real quick overview of what the different types of Quick Buy offers are available. And then there's an actual disclosure that should be signed by the sellers, basically understanding that they're not represented by a realtor unless they have an executed listing contract. And that we're just disclosing this relationship we have with Moving Station, who provides the Quick Buy service for us, and that we have given them the option. So they're going to initial that they either want to pursue that option or they're declining it at this time and sign there. And then there is an option with Quick Buy where they can kind of be doing both, a traditional sale while also having a bona fide offer from Quick Buy to purchase the home in the event it doesn't sell successfully, potentially. So if you're in a situation where you have a signed listing contract with a person and they're still considering Quick Buy, you may also want to do this exclusion clause as well. And that's basically saying that the seller is, if the seller enters an agreement of sale with Quick Buy, then there would be no commission from the seller due to you as the agent, and that your listing contract effectively is terminated with the seller because they're pursuing the Quick Buy option instead. Thus, afterwards, your listing contract would actually be with Quick Buy, who would be reselling it afterwards. So on the listing side, we also have a seller services guarantee, very similar to the buyer services guarantee in that it's breaking it down into layperson terms for what kind of services they should expect from you as their listing agent. And same kind of paragraph down here at the bottom that says that if I'm not performing the services as we agreed, then we're entitled to terminate the exclusive listing contract. Again, there needs to be in writing to the manager, and that there is, in this case, a stipulation to try to initiate a cure strategy or correct it within 72 hours if necessary. Okay. After that, there's another seller authorization or another authorization form, this time for the seller. to complete. Again, allowing free conversation where it makes sense with the seller. So in this case, it would be with the settlement services, title insurance agency who's providing them to deliver the copy of the closing disclosure to the broker for seller, you effectively. Okay. And then finally, in the listing side, we have a coming soon status authorization form. Bright MLS does, for their coming soon status, require that the seller actually provide written authorization to do that. But there's nothing in the listing contract that speaks to that. And I don't believe that Bright themselves has a form yet. That also does coming soon authorizing. So we have our own internal form, and it's kind of a twofold reason. Number one, we want to make sure that we do actually get that written request and the written authorization from the seller. But because of the misunderstanding and misuse of coming soon and Bright so often, we also use it as an opportunity to re-educate all the parties what the rules around that are. So not only is the agent themselves reminded, for example, that you cannot do any kind of showings, but it also tells the seller the same thing, so that they understand that they also have to abide by those rules and can't let the neighbor in, in off hours because it's him and not you. So it's just kind of restating and gives you an opportunity then to dive into those rules and make sure your seller understands. Okay, so that's what that's for. Then on the other side of your presentation folder, there's another smaller section for like miscellaneous buyer-seller forms. And these would be, I didn't want to duplicate them. So I just created, on both sides. So I just created their own little section, short little section. There is an alternate designated agent addendum that's available in there. It's an in-house form. If you were to ever need to designate an agent to work with your buyer or to work with your seller, that's what this form is for. And there are ways to do that. I think the change to listing contract has that field available, and the change to buyer agency agreement also does. But this allows you to kind of do it in one simple form if you need to. So for example, you go on vacation and somebody needs to step in for you. Or let's say you're in a dual agency situation and somebody's not comfortable with that and you need to designate an agent. So it's a real quick and easy way for the clients to sign and the other agent to sign so that everybody knows and understands what's happening. And I've talked about warranty already a couple of times, and I wanted to indicate that there is a brochure here available for you. Our partnership is with Cinch Home Services, and along with the separate disclosure form, this brochure exists so that you can share this with your buyers, share it with your sellers, talk about the different coverage types. And if they were interested, it also includes the application and instructions for you on how to set that up online. But you can also like email it to them or turn it in that way, call them. But it does give like a really nice little quick description. Okay, so then we get into what happens when you're under contract. So the listing gets a buyer and it's ratified, or your buyer themselves is now under contract. This transaction sales report is probably the most important thing to get done and done right away. We call it the TSR for short. So anytime that you have something that is under contract and ratified, you need to make sure that you complete this to the best of your ability and get it turned into the admin so that they can process it through accounting, put it on production reports, and basically process the sale all through the back office, because otherwise they will not know that you have something going on. So the TSR helps to put all that information in one quick place so that all the different hands that need to touch it have the same information and don't have to go digging. So you will be filling this out. It's the same form, whether it's on the list side or the buy side. So you're just going to fill out everything for your side and then what you know of the other. So for example, if I was representing a buyer, I would not be privy to the seller's phone number and information. And so therefore I wouldn't put that, but I would have their name and potentially their mailing address. So I could put that in there. Same thing with like commission. If it's asking for, which percentage is given to the list side, which percentage is given to the selling side, as you can see, like right down here. If I'm representing the buyer, I don't necessarily know for sure what the listing agent is keeping for themselves or getting for themselves. So I just simply don't fill that out. So everything that you know for sure for your side and what you know of the other side. Okay, and that would be at the time of ratification. After that, we don't mess with the TSR anymore. That was the picture in time. So if anything was to change, think of it almost like a change in terms addendum. You wouldn't be messing with the original agreement of sale. So there's a separate TSR change sheet in case something gets renegotiated down the line. If there's been a price change or a settlement date change or something like that, then you would pull in a TSR change sheet and just mark the area of change and then resubmit that to your admin so that they can process it accordingly. And finally, the last thing that's in here is a rental TSR. If rentals are your thing and you're actively doing the rental market, then there is a similar situation for any leases or rentals that get under contract, separate TSR for that as well. Okay, as I said, all of these have been placed for you in your mailboxes. Whenever you get a chance, pop in and take a look to see if you can find those. And if you have any questions, absolutely reach out. Jim and Melissa are ready and waiting for any questions that you might have. And I appreciate your time today. Thanks so much.